I broke up with my childhood sweetheart after 4 years together. All because, when the game ended, she handed the last bottle of water and towel to someone else, and I lost my temper over it. She teased me. Oh wow. Why are you so petty? What's wrong with you? Your heart is so small it can't even hold a grain of sand. It's just a bottle of water. Waiting a bit won't kill you of thirst. I asked to break up. She snapped bitterly. You're so dramatic. You'll never find a girl as good as me again. Don't regret it later. Just as she wished, I didn't regret it. I cut things off completely. Later, she lowered herself, humbly begging for my forgiveness, but I no longer wanted to turn back. She brought it up again, crying as she questioned me. Wasn't it just because of a bottle of water? Did you really have to be so heartless to me? Yeah, breaking up over a bottle of water does make me seem overly sensitive. But what she didn't know was that it was only the last snowflake that caused the avalanche. Chapter 1. With the final whistle of the game. Cheers and shouts erupted all around me. I saw Jennifer running toward me with water and a towel. A smile crept onto my lips as I reached out to take them, but she acted as if she didn't see me. She ran past me and handed the water to Christopher instead. At that moment, my smile froze, and half my heart went cold. Today was a friendly basketball match organized by our class before graduation. My team won, while Christopher, on the losing side, was exhausted and bent over, panting with his hands on his hips. Jennifer took the last bottle of water and the towel and gave them to him. She even reached out to wipe his sweat while he drank. Christopher bumped fists with her and said with a grin, "Good friend, you've really got my back." "Of course," she replied. The two of them stood close together, chatting and laughing as if I didn't exist just a short distance away. To an outsider, they looked more like a couple, but no one ever found it strange, because this had long become normal between them. I had talked to her about it several times, but every time, she said I was overthinking and told me to relax, that they were just purely platonic. We had argued about this many times, but in the end, I was always the one who compromised, the one who gave in and asked for reconciliation. Maybe in a relationship, the one who loves more is always the one at a disadvantage. While I was still lost in thought, Christopher walked toward me and said with a smile, "Colin, sorry about that. Didn't expect them to prepare so little water. How about you drink mine?" He waved the half-finished bottle in front of me, a careless grin on his face. I was already in a bad mood. Seeing his face only made it worse. "No need," I said, shaking my head. He'd already drunk half of it, and now he was asking if I wanted it. Was he trying to disgust me? "Don't be polite, just take it," he said. Then he tossed the bottle directly toward me. I didn't catch it. I stepped aside and let it fall. I said I'm not drinking it. I looked at him with a warning in my eyes, my tone cold. "What's with you? Isn't it normal for guys to share a drink? If you don't want it, just give it back. Why act like this?" Christopher spoke as if he were completely in the right, yet turned to Jennifer with a pitiful look, as if my refusal to drink his water had somehow become my fault. "Don't mind him," Jennifer said, frowning at me. "He's just upset because I didn't give him the water earlier. Always throwing a tantrum over nothing." She didn't even try to come back to my side. I felt wronged. I wanted to say something, but when I opened my mouth, no words came out. She knew she had given the last bottle of water to Christopher first. She knew she had run past me to find him. She knew everything. She knew it would make me unhappy, yet she still did it without a second thought. It was as if my feelings didn't matter to her at all. I said nothing. I just walked off to the side, feeling a quiet sense of loneliness. Chapter 2. After returning to the rest area, I sat down and waited for the water I had just bought. Jennifer, however, didn't care about how upset I was at all. She was still joking around with Christopher, comforting him, saying it didn't matter that he lost the game and that he could just eat more meat at the dinner later. To be fair, she wasn't wrong. During the dinner, Jennifer was especially attentive, taking great care of everyone, but especially Christopher. She looked after him with meticulous attention. Every time a new dish was served, Jennifer would pick up the first bite and place it in Christopher's bowl, just short of feeding him herself. They looked exactly like a couple in the middle of a passionate relationship. The atmosphere was lively and joyful. Everyone was eating, drinking, and having a great time. Everyone except me. I felt like an outsider peeking into someone else's happiness, a complete third party. After the meal, everyone suggested going to a KTV to continue the night, but I wasn't in the mood at all, so I apologized and told them I wasn't feeling well, wishing them a good time. Seeing my pale expression, my friends probably understood that I didn't want to go. They said, "If Colin's not feeling well, he should go back and rest. Jennifer, take good care of him. We'll hang out again next time." Jennifer looked a little disappointed, but she still accompanied me home. However, Christopher came out with her as well. The two of them got into the car laughing and chatting. Jennifer drove, and Christopher naturally took the passenger seat. Since his place was on the way, Christopher often hitched rides, and Jennifer had never refused him. I sat in the back seat, closing my eyes to rest. Then Christopher suddenly said, "Oh right, I almost forgot, Colin doesn't seem to be feeling well. Want me to give you the front seat? Give it to me. I let out a silent, cold laugh and said nothing. Seeing that I ignored him, Christopher turned to Jennifer and said, "Your boyfriend's temper really is a bit strange. Must be hard on you dealing with him every day." Jennifer just smiled faintly and replied casually, "Don't worry about him. He'll be fine in a bit." Heh, yeah. Every time I got upset, she never even needed to comfort me. I would just calm myself down. Thinking about it, sometimes I really felt like a simp in this relationship. In our minds, the passenger seat is always reserved for your significant other. But ever since Christopher appeared, Jennifer broke that unspoken rule for him. As long as he was around, the front seat was never mine. Except for the rare times when I drove, then the front seat would be empty, because the two of them would sit together in the back. I used to get upset with Jennifer over this a lot. Eventually, she brushed me off impatiently. "Can you stop making a fuss? One is my boyfriend. The other is my good friend. Do you really have to put me in such a difficult position?" I don't even remember how many times we argued because of Christopher. All I know is that later on, I chose silence more often, a kind of resignation, knowing that no matter how much I protested, it wouldn't change anything. I had thought about it many times. Would there come a day when Christopher would replace me as her boyfriend? Maybe it was the emotional exhaustion, or maybe I was just too tired. I fell asleep quickly. When I woke up, the car was already parked downstairs. "Why didn't you wake me?" I asked groggily, looking at Jennifer in the front. She was quietly staring out the window, only turning her head back slowly when she heard me. "Colin, what's wrong with you today?" She frowned, her tone tinged with complaint. "What did I do? I didn't feel like arguing." Even my voice sounded tired. "What do you mean, what did you do?" "Right after the game, you had that gloomy face. Christopher kindly offered you water, and you made things awkward for him. And during dinner, you didn't say a word the whole time. Your face was darker than charcoal. When everyone suggested going somewhere else, you just killed the mood. We're graduating soon. Don't you realize that every meeting now is one less in the future?" She listed everything one by one, so annoyed that her cheeks puffed up slightly. After listening, all I felt was a chill spreading through my heart. "Think whatever you want." I threw out that sentence, opened the car door, and got out. Chapter 3. She quickly caught up to me. With visible anger, she grabbed my arm and forced me to stop. "So now you can't even be bothered to explain yourself?" She looked up at me, glaring as she demanded an answer. Her unreasonable attitude irritated me too. "Jennifer, we've known each other for so many years. Do you really think I'm just picking a fight for no reason? Did you forget that I'm your boyfriend?" Right after the game, you ran straight to Christopher with the water. During dinner, you kept serving him food and chatting happily with him. And now you're asking me why I gave you an attitude. Again with this nonsense. Jennifer rolled her eyes, her voice full of impatience. "How many times do I have to tell you? He's just a good friend. This is normal interaction between friends. Why do you always have to make a big deal out of it?" I let out a cold laugh. "You think this is normal? Then what is it?" Jennifer pressed on stubbornly. "We didn't kiss. We didn't hug. What exactly did we do to wrong you?" I looked into her eyes. Something in that gaze had changed. In the past, when she looked at me, her eyes were always filled with gentleness and admiration. Now, all I saw was blame and complaint. Hadn't she once said that I would always come first? That I would always be the most important person in her life, irreplaceable? But now, the most important person in her heart had become Christopher. As long as he was around, he would always be her priority. In the end, everything had changed. "If you think there's nothing wrong, then fine." I left those words behind and went upstairs alone without waiting for her. Back in sophomore year, she said the dorm was too noisy and affected her studies. By coincidence, we found a nice 2-bedroom apartment, so we rented it together. We lived there for 3 years. Later, every time we argued, I felt grateful that we had rented 2 rooms. Maybe I caught a chill today. I felt dizzy and heavy-headed. I made myself a cup of cold medicine, drank it, and quickly fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, Jennifer wasn't home. Even by the evening, she still hadn't returned. During that time, she didn't send me a single message. Once again, we fell into a cold war. Ever since I realized that no matter how much I argued, nothing would change, it felt like Jennifer and I had fallen into countless silent standoffs. But I couldn't help remembering, we hadn't always been like this. Jennifer and I were childhood sweethearts. Our families had been neighbors since we were little. But back then, my parents were always working away from home. I rarely saw them throughout the year. The only thing I received regularly was money they sent me. So I paid my own tuition, went to school by myself, washed my own clothes, and cooked my own meals. Sometimes I would forget to bring an umbrella, and I would walk home in the rain. But I was always afraid that others would ask why I was always alone. Why no one ever brought me an umbrella. I worried they would pity me. I worried they would laugh at me. But one day, Just as I was about to run home in the rain, someone appeared beside me, and suddenly, no rain fell on me anymore. From now on, let's go home together. Jennifer stood there in her school uniform, her hair tied in a ponytail, blinking her big eyes at me. She looked unbelievably adorable. After that, I never had to walk home in the rain again, and I never felt lonely anymore. Jennifer walked to and from school with me every day, ate meals with me, and shared the same umbrella with me on rainy days. She brought me breakfast she made herself, draped her jacket over me when it was cold, and cheered me up whenever I felt down. Because of Jennifer, my childhood was no longer dark. Chapter 4. Middle School. We had both grown up a lot. One day, a girl confessed her feelings to me, but I rejected her. The very next day, I was cornered in an alley outside the school by a group of older students. Among them were a few tattooed thugs. A guy I didn't recognize shoved me against the wall and barked, "Kid, you've got some nerve messing with my girl. You looking to die?" I had no idea what he was talking about. Back then, I was so scared my legs felt weak. I didn't. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Don't know." He slammed a wooden stick against the wall and cursed. "The girl who confessed to you yesterday, I've had my eye on her for a long time. If I don't teach you a lesson today, people will think anyone can go after my girl." With that, he swung the stick at me. I shut my eyes, bracing for the hit, but the blow never landed on me. Instead, I felt the fabric in front of me being tightly clutched by two small hands. When I opened my eyes, Jennifer was standing in front of me. She had taken the hit with her back. Her eyes instantly reddened from the pain, tears welling up and trembling in her gaze. At that moment, I made a silent promise to myself. I would treat her well for the rest of my life. After a brief moment of shock, the delinquents started mocking us. "Damn, are you even a man? Letting a girl take a hit for you? This girl must be blind to fall for trash like you." Anger completely drowned out my fear. I pulled Jennifer behind me. Before that bastard could react, I threw a punch with all my strength and knocked him to the ground. Then I stepped on his hand and drove my fists into his face again and again. The others snapped out of it and tried to swarm me. Jennifer raised her phone and shouted, "Don't move, I already called the police. The nearest station is only 500 meters away, they'll be here any second." Hearing that, they all froze. They exchanged glances, threw out a few threats, then dragged the bloodied guy away. Once they were gone, Jennifer immediately grabbed my hand and pulled me away. Later, I found out she hadn't actually called the police that day, she had just been bluffing. I patted her head and said, "If something this dangerous happens again, protect yourself first." After a pause, I added, "And call the police." Jennifer nodded obediently and replied sweetly, "Okay." Then her eyes lit up mischievously as she said, "But if it's a real emergency, I'll still jump out to save you first." Back then, in my eyes, Jennifer wasn't just like a little lion, she was also the light in my life. In high school, we were still in the same school, and by some stroke of luck, we were even placed in the same class. By then, she had grown into her looks, like a flower just beginning to bloom. She ranked at the top of the class, both a top student and the school beauty, as if she radiated brilliance. Every day, her desk was stuffed with love letters, and every night, all of them ended up in the trash. She once told me very seriously that at such a critical stage, we absolutely shouldn't be dating. I asked cautiously, "What about me and you?" A flash of joy passed through her eyes, as if she had just realized something that made her happy. She said, "Let's work hard together and get into the same university. When we do, we'll be together." Okay. From that moment on, I had a goal. Through more than 1,000 days and nights of high school, I worked relentlessly to catch up to her. Hard work paid off. I finally got into the same university as her. On the day we registered for enrollment, we looked at each other and smiled, and just like we had promised, we became a couple. Chapter 5. After we entered university, we had much more free time. Every weekend, we would go out together, searching for good food, visiting fun places, taking photos to mark the moments. We explored every corner of the city hand in hand. We even had our own secret spot, a place that belonged only to the two of us, filled with our private kind of romance. Back then, we were so happy. I thought we would stay like that forever, living out our lives in happiness, but I never expected that beautiful times are always fleeting. In our sophomore year, a transfer student joined our class. His name was Christopher. By coincidence, during a class group activity, they became friends. Christopher was handsome and spoke in a calm, measured way. Back then, Jennifer often said he was very polite. Gradually, she mentioned him more and more. At some point, without me realizing when it began, the relationship between the two of them grew closer and closer. So close that it started to make me jealous. At first, it was still just Jennifer and me going out, going on dates, but later, Christopher began finding all kinds of excuses to join us. When we went to try a newly opened restaurant, Christopher would ask Jennifer for the location. He would say he happened to want to go there too, so why not eat together? Jennifer initially wanted to refuse, but under his persistent coaxing, she eventually agreed. And just like that, what was supposed to be a meal for two gained a third person. Later, when we went to watch a movie, Christopher said he also wanted to see that exact one, so he asked where we were and tagged along again. Jennifer didn't refuse this third wheel either, and it became the three of us watching the movie together. After leaving the theater, the two of them walked ahead, enthusiastically discussing the plot, leaving me forgotten behind them, as if I were the third wheel. There were too many moments like this, so many that I lost count. It wasn't like I had never brought it up. I told her that when it was just the two of us on a date, bringing along someone else made me uncomfortable, but she got upset instead. She told me Christopher was just a close buddy and that I shouldn't get jealous over everything. But he's still a guy at the end of the day, shouldn't there be some boundaries? I said, my eyes reddening. I told you, he's just a close friend, a bestie. Jennifer replied impatiently, can you stop being so petty? Have we ever done anything to betray you? Petty. I looked at the girl who had grown up with me, and for the first time, she felt like a stranger. Jennifer, you clearly understand everything, so why pretend you don't? Jennifer took a deep breath and clenched her teeth. What am I pretending? You think you understand everything? You're a grown man, do you really have to be this narrow-minded? Hearing that, my heart was pierced instantly, and tears welled up uncontrollably. Jennifer, you think I'm narrow-minded, that I'm overstepping, right? I didn't even realize it at the time, but my voice was trembling as I spoke. Maybe it was the first time she saw me cry. A trace of concern flashed in Jennifer's eyes. Her tone softened. Colin, let's drop it. It's my fault. Don't be upset anymore. Okay. But hearing her say that only made me feel even more wronged. My tears flowed even harder. Jennifer grew more distressed. She pulled me tightly into her arms, gently wiping away my tears. She said many soft, comforting words. She told me I was the one she liked the most, because I loved hiking. That day she pushed herself to climb all the way to the mountain peak with me. Looking at the magnificent landscape, my mood improved a lot. That night, we held each other tightly. She told me she would keep her distance from Christopher in the future, feeling her scent and her soft breathing in my arms. I felt an overwhelming sense of peace and happiness. Chapter 6. I've always kept her words in my heart. Unfortunately, she didn't live up to them. Later, her relationship with Christopher grew closer and closer, and Jennifer and I argued more and more because of him. I loved her deeply, so I couldn't bring myself to leave. I thought that maybe after graduation, they wouldn't stay in touch so often, but I didn't expect that what happened yesterday would hit me like a thunderclap and wake me up. I should have known long ago. Jennifer and Christopher's relationship had already gone beyond friendship. I was just lying to myself the whole time. I waited until late into the night, but Jennifer still didn't come back. Our chat window remained frozen at yesterday's messages. WeChat moments showed that Christopher had posted something new. Curious. I tapped on it. My heart trembled instantly. 9 photos. Every single one was a selfie of Jennifer and Christopher. In the middle photo, Jennifer had her eyes closed, leaning against Christopher's shoulder. Location, Sanya, Hainan. Caption, the seaside is so romantic, with the ocean breeze and footprints in the sand. I opened the photos and looked at them one by one, carefully, for a long, long time. So Jennifer hadn't come home because she had gone on a trip with Christopher, but she hadn't told me in advance, not even mentioned it once. My already disappointed heart now felt like it had fallen into an ice cellar, cold and aching. I had thought she would be as upset as I was, unable to sleep. Only now did I realize that after arguing with me, she could still sleep peacefully, and even had someone to lean on. Originally, I had planned to talk things through with Jennifer face to face, about our relationship, but now, it seems there's nothing left to say. We've known each other since elementary school, all the way until graduating from college. I thought we could really stay happy forever. Grow old together like in the novels. I had imagined countless times walking into the wedding hall with her, placing a ring on her finger myself, but reality tells me, I was too naive. What seemed like an unbreakable relationship could shatter in an instant. From the moment Christopher entered our lives, maybe it was already destined that my relationship with Jennifer would begin to fall apart. Is our love really over just like that? Honestly, I'm not willing to accept it. I didn't do anything wrong. My phone slipped from my hand onto the bed, and by then my face was already soaked with tears. I thought of all those happy times with Jennifer. I thought of the girl who rushed over without hesitation to block a blow for me, like a little lion. I thought of the girl who, even in the rain, stubbornly held her arm high just to hold an umbrella over me. I thought of the girl who, when I had a high fever in the middle of the night, ran several kilometers in panic just to buy me medicine. But sadly, that girl, who once shone like a beam of light into my dull life, has ultimately left me. I used to think that if I just tried hard enough, I could stay by her side forever. Now I realize that while many things can be gained through effort, love is not one of them. Love is like sand, and like the wind, I'm unwilling to let it slip away, yet I'm powerless to stop it. Christopher posted something like that while Jennifer and I were still in a relationship, and Jennifer could rest against his shoulder and fall asleep without stopping him. Maybe, in her heart, I stopped mattering a long time ago. She might still be lying to herself, but I don't want to continue like this anymore. A sleepless night, I packed up all my belongings, little by little erasing the memories of this place. It used to be our warm haven. Now, I've decided to leave, and there's no reason for me to stay anymore. Chapter 7. I moved my luggage back to the school dormitory, because I decided to prepare for graduate school entrance exams. Before, it was Jennifer who wanted to step into society early and build her own career. At the time, she felt that if I stayed in school, we wouldn't have many chances to see each other, so I compromised and interviewed at several companies close to her. Now that I've woken up, I can finally move forward according to my own plans. I found the company that had accepted me and explained the situation to the HR manager. She expressed understanding and wished me the best. After returning to school, I threw myself entirely into studying. Every morning, I went to the library early, and at night I went back to the dorm to continue studying. I thought this kind of life would be hard to endure, but unexpectedly, it was even easier than I had imagined. With my days full and busy, I hardly thought of Jennifer at all. She seemed to gradually fade out of my world. Occasionally, when I couldn't sleep at night, I would think of the past, but my heart no longer stirred. Perhaps through all those compromises and concessions, my heart had slowly grown cold. Half a month later, after Jennifer returned home from her trip, she finally realized that I had already moved out. Since the argument that day, she hadn't sent me a single message. When she called me, I was still studying in the library. After hanging up, I simply turned off my phone. By the time I left the library, my phone showed dozens of missed calls. Just then, she called again. This time, I answered. She seemed momentarily stunned, not expecting me to pick up so quickly. Then came her angry questioning. "Colin, what are you messing around with now? You're not answering calls, not replying to messages. Come home right now and explain yourself." I listened calmly, then replied just as calmly, "No, Jennifer, let's break up." There was silence on the other end again. After a long pause, her voice came through. "Are you done throwing a tantrum?" Her emotions were slipping out of control. "What right do you have to break up with me? What reason do you even have?" Hearing her response, I let out a soft sigh. "Reason," I said in a low voice. "Do you even see how much I've given up just to be with you? I gave up my dreams, my principles, my dignity, everything. But what about you? What have you treated me as?" Jennifer let out a cold laugh. "So this is why you want to break up with me?" She paused. "You've wanted to break up for a long time, haven't you? Using this excuse, did you already find someone else?" Her words stabbed straight into the heart that had once loved her so deeply. I let out a mocking laugh. "I'm not like you, having a guy best friend you can flirt with. You went on a trip with someone you're emotionally involved with behind your boyfriend's back, and even posted intimate photos." Jennifer scoffed. "This again? How many times are you going to make a scene about it?" "Yes, I went on a trip with Christopher. So what?" She spoke with complete confidence. "It was Christopher's birthday that day. Can't I celebrate his birthday with him? Isn't your need to control a bit too much? I can't even celebrate a friend's birthday." At that point, I no longer had any desire to continue arguing. "Enough, Jennifer." My voice turned cold. "Let's break up. It's better for both of us. Colin." Jennifer suddenly raised her voice sharply. "Think this through, you'd better not regret it later." "Yeah, I've thought it through," I replied calmly. "Fine, you said it yourself." Jennifer gritted her teeth as she spoke, then hung up the phone. Chapter 8. Finally, I said those words. It felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my chest. To be honest, I had thought about leaving her long ago, but after so many years together, I still held on to hope, hoping she would change, hoping she would go back to how she used to be, hoping she would love me wholeheartedly. Saying goodbye to someone who had been with you through your entire childhood and youth felt like having your bones torn apart. But no matter how unwilling I was, I could only force myself to leave. She and Christopher shamelessly walked the line of an emotional affair. While I was labeled as selfish and petty, I couldn't accept that. The kind of love I wanted was wholehearted devotion. A kind of love where, in your eyes, there is only one person. If love means constant compromise, losing yourself, and not being loved in return, then I don't want it. After officially breaking up with Jennifer, my life didn't change much. I still lived a full and structured life, studying every day, going to bed early, waking up early, eating on time. It was as if I never thought of Jennifer again, as though she had completely disappeared from my life. We each returned to our own paths, and perhaps our lives would never cross again. Recently, one of the school cafeterias was under renovation. leaving only one available. As a result, all the students crowded into the same cafeteria. One noon, I had already gotten my food, but couldn't find a seat anywhere. The window seat in the corner that I usually liked, surprisingly, it was empty. Next to it sat a girl with her meal in front of her, looking down at a book. After hesitating for a moment, I walked over and asked softly, "Hi, excuse me, is this seat taken?" She looked up at me, her big eyes blinking. "No, go ahead and sit," she said with a smile, standing up slightly to make space. I thanked her and sat down, feeling a bit lucky. I noticed the book on the table and couldn't help but say, "I just finished reading that not long ago. It's really good. Didn't expect you to be reading it too. I like all of this author's books," the girl said gently, tucking her hair behind her ear with a smile. "What a coincidence." "Me too," I said in surprise. "I know. You know." I looked at her curiously, suddenly feeling like I had seen her somewhere before. "Yes, I also know your name is Colin, the top student in the media studies department." Her smile was bright, like a little sun, warm and radiant. "You know me?" I asked. She nodded and introduced herself. "My name is Cindy. I'm a junior from the same department, 1 year below you." It suddenly clicked. Back when we were filming the school's promotional video, I had seen her running around, busy with work. She was proactive and energetic, always appearing wherever help was needed. From time to time, she would crack jokes to lighten the dull atmosphere on set. In my memory, she was a lively and adorable girl. "Thanks for today. Otherwise, I might have had to eat standing with my tray," I said with a shrug, laughing along with her. "It's okay. I'm happy too. Now I have someone to eat with," she replied with a smile. After that, we really did start eating together every day. She would always arrive at the cafeteria before me and save me a seat. At first, she would even get my meal for me, even though I told her she didn't have to. Eventually, I just handed her my meal card. Over time, I realized she seemed to know my little habits very well. For example, I would take a sip of soup after a few bites of food. I liked spicy food and always added extra chili. Whenever I got tired of chewing, I would turn my head and look out the window. Sometimes I would zone out, resting my chin on one hand. She knew all of these small habits. I teased her with a smile. "Cindy, did you secretly look me up or something?" She let out a soft laugh. "Do I really need to look that up?" I paused for a moment, then nodded. She was right, these were just small habits. Anyone would notice them after spending enough time together. Jennifer used to know me best, but now, she no longer cared. Chapter 9. One day, when I happened to hear Jennifer's name, I suddenly realized that it had already been half a year since we broke up. During these 6 months, aside from studying every day, the only other thing I did was eat at the cafeteria with Cindy. At first, I truly thought she helped me get food and save seats every day because she had no one else to eat with. It wasn't until the day she confessed to me that I realized the truth. A girl as cute as her, if she really wanted someone to eat with, it would have been the easiest thing in the world. She did all of that for me. I had actually met her before, when she first started her freshman year. At that time, she had dragged her luggage over to me and asked where the teaching building was. Just as I was about to answer, she suddenly lost her balance and fell to the side. I was startled and hurried over to catch her. Fortunately, the infirmary wasn't far. I helped her there. The doctor said it was hypoglycemia. After drinking a bottle of glucose, she gradually recovered. While she was resting in the infirmary, I told her where to go for freshman registration and then left. Back then, my heart was filled only with Jennifer. That incident was just a simple act of kindness, so I didn't think much of it. Besides, so many years had passed, I could barely remember what she looked like. That's why I didn't recognize her later. Cindy said to me, "Senior, do you know, from that moment on, I could never forget you. I started paying attention to you, showing up in places you often went. Just being able to see you from afar made me feel happy. But at the time, I also heard that you and Senior Jennifer had a great relationship. So I didn't dare, and shouldn't, disturb you. I thought that as long as I could see you happy, that would be enough." Cindy looked at me seriously, a trace of heartache flashing in her eyes. "I just didn't expect that you would break up." "Cindy," I called her name softly. She shook her head and gave a bitter smile. "When you broke up, I didn't feel happy at all. I felt sorry for you. I knew you were hurting. I also knew that Senior Jennifer and Senior Christopher went on a trip together. I really wanted to appear by your side at that time and comfort you, but I was afraid you'd think I was taking advantage of your vulnerability." As I listened to Cindy speak to me so sincerely, I felt my once frozen heart begin to thaw. "Cindy, thank you, actually." Before I could finish, Cindy stepped forward and stood in front of me, her cheeks slightly flushed. "Senior, I like you." Her eyes were firm, her tone resolute. "Maybe this is a bit late, but can you give me a chance?" Facing Cindy's sincere and heartfelt confession, my heart felt as if it had melted, beating rapidly. I hadn't expected her confession to come so suddenly. On such an ordinary day, should I say yes? Perhaps seeing that I hadn't spoken for a long time, she blinked, then suddenly smiled. It's okay, senior. Rejecting me isn't that hard. I still hope you can always be happy. I shook my head and smiled. No. Who said I was going to reject you? Huh? Cindy froze for a moment, then asked cautiously. Does that mean you're saying yes? Yes. Her eyes, which had dimmed just moments ago, instantly lit up. She grabbed my hand and started jumping excitedly in place. Her joy overflowed from her face. I'm not dreaming, am I? This is amazing. I'll definitely love you with all my heart. Watching Cindy so happy, like a child, I felt a long-lost sense of ease and happiness in my heart. Chapter 10. Every day I spent with Cindy felt like being soaked in happiness. One night, I came across a post from Jennifer. She was wearing a spaghetti-strap floral dress, holding her phone in one hand while flashing a peace sign with the other. Behind her, Christopher had his arms wrapped around her waist, a happy smile on his face. Caption: Happiness doesn't have to come from you. A mutual friend commented, finally made it official. Wishing you lasting happiness. Jennifer replied, yes, thank you. Seeing this, my heart remained completely still, unlike the turmoil I felt when I first saw their travel photos. Jennifer was still as willful and immature as ever, unaware of how ridiculous it looked to others. I shook my head and put my phone down, but Cindy leaned closer, noticing something was off about me. Are you unhappy? She asked, blinking her big eyes. No, I said with a smile, gently ruffling her hair, but she continued, is it because of Jennifer? Seeing the hint of sadness on her face, my heart ached. I turned and pulled her into my arms, speaking softly. Silly girl, you don't need to care about her. The one I like is you. Cindy smiled happily, then buried her face in my collarbone. In a soft, slightly spoiled tone, she said, Colin, can you take me home with you? I was slightly stunned. You said before your family wanted you to bring your girlfriend home for the new year. She said sweetly, I want to go back with you. Is that okay? I was silent for a moment, then nodded. Okay. She giggled and hugged me tightly. The spring festival came quickly. I took her back to my hometown. Along the way, she kept asking if I was tired, offering to help carry some of the luggage. When I refused, she bought water for me, fed it to me, and wiped my sweat with tissues. As soon as we sat down, she asked what I wanted to eat, and said I could lean on her and rest if I was tired. Her attention was always on me. It made me feel valued and needed. Jennifer had never been like this. She was always focused on moving ahead, busy taking photos and posting updates. When we got home, my parents had already prepared a large table full of dishes, but Jennifer's family was also there. Colin, you're back. Jennifer's mother greeted us warmly as soon as she saw Cindy and me. Yeah. Cindy quickly greeted them as well. Hello, Uncle, Auntie. I'm Cindy. Jennifer's father smiled kindly. Hello. Jennifer's mother pulled me aside, her tone apologetic. Colin, I'm really sorry about Jennifer. She was in the wrong, but over the years, we've always treated you like family. Come visit us whenever you have time. Okay. Looking at her, my heart was filled with mixed emotions. When I was little, I was often home alone, and they would invite me over for meals. They knew about the breakfasts and umbrellas Jennifer used to bring me, and throughout my growth, whenever I faced difficulties, their whole family would help me find solutions. Perhaps in their eyes, I had long been one of their own. At the dinner table, Jennifer sat on my left, and Cindy sat on my right. Jennifer placed a piece of sweet and sour carp onto my plate. Colin, this is still your favorite fish. Cindy placed a piece of ribs onto my plate. Your favorite now. I thanked Jennifer, then picked up the ribs and put them into my mouth. After the meal, Cindy stayed in the living room chatting with my parents. I went into the kitchen to get some juice. Just as I was about to leave, Jennifer walked in. She said nothing, just stood there, quietly looking at me. I spoke first. Do you need something? She didn't answer. I stepped forward. If not, I'm heading out. Chapter 11. Colin, she called out to me. When I turned around, she was looking at me with an apologetic expression. About that incident. I'm sorry. I paused for a moment. What incident? Jennifer said cautiously. That time, when I gave the bottled water and towel to Christopher. Oh, I nodded, speaking indifferently. That was so long ago. There's no need to bring it up again. A trace of disappointment flashed in her eyes, but she continued. Christopher and I were never together. Those travel photos I posted. I just wanted to make you jealous. Jennifer, I interrupted her. We've already broken up, and it's been a long, long time. Who you're with and what you do, it has nothing to do with me anymore. I know. Jennifer lowered her head and said softly. I just didn't want you to misunderstand. There's no misunderstanding, I replied calmly. You and Christopher suit each other quite well, don't you? Jennifer's body trembled slightly. She looked up at me, her eyes filled with pleading. Is there really no way for us to go back? It had already been more than half a year since we broke up, and now she was asking me this. I shook my head, my tone firm. Jennifer, it's impossible for us. I already have Cindy, and I hope you'll find the right person too. After that, Jennifer left my house. During the rest of the holiday, I never saw her again. My parents were very satisfied with Cindy. She spent her first spring festival at my home. When we returned to school, I devoted myself entirely to exam preparation. For convenience, I moved back into the school dormitory. Cindy was also busy preparing for her own exams and certifications. We encouraged each other and made progress together. One night, as I walked out of the library, I saw Jennifer waiting at the entrance. Under the dim streetlight, she looked somewhat lonely, her gaze tired and worn. Only when she saw me did a hint of life return to her eyes. Colin. She walked up to me and handed me a cup of hot milk tea. When I didn't take it, she touched it to her cheek to check the temperature, then said carefully, I just bought it. It's still warm. It's cold out. Drink it to warm up. Looking at her now, she reminded me of that rainy day long ago, when she appeared beside me holding an umbrella. But all of that had already become the past. Jennifer, I think I've already made myself very clear. There's no need for you to do this anymore. I spoke calmly, without the slightest ripple of emotion. I just wanted to come see you, to make up for my mistakes. There's no need. I shook my head and said indifferently, the best thing you can do for me is to stop interfering with my life. Jennifer's hand holding the milk tea trembled uncontrollably, her eyes looking shattered. How can you be so heartless? We've had over 10 years together. Does it really just end like this? Her tone was almost pleading, one hand already gripping my wrist. I immediately shook her off. I once really wanted to cherish this relationship. I was willing to keep giving in and compromising, but you only kept pushing further. You told me not to regret it, but since leaving you, I haven't regretted it for even a single second. I said each word clearly, then turned and left without looking back. Perhaps because the night was so quiet, I could hear the uncontrollable sound of her sobbing behind me. I had heard by chance before that she and Christopher had fallen out, but that had nothing to do with me anymore. For a long time after that, Jennifer didn't show up to disturb me again. Sometimes, though, I would notice her standing not far away, quietly watching me, maybe in the library, maybe in the cafeteria, or maybe along the campus pathways. But since she didn't bother me, I didn't pay attention to her either. I focused only on doing what I needed to do. Fortunately, hard work pays off. I was successfully admitted to the university I wanted. Cindy hugged me and said, I knew you could do it. Cindy decided that she would work hard too, to follow in my footsteps. That day, I took Cindy to an amusement park, to the movies, and to eat all kinds of food. When we returned downstairs to our apartment that night, we saw Jennifer standing there alone. Cindy nervously tightened her grip on my hand. I gently patted her hand and said softly, It's okay. Go upstairs first. She glanced at Jennifer, then looked at me and nodded obediently. Okay, I'll wait for you upstairs. After saying that, she took the fruit from my hand and walked into the building, turning back to look at me every few steps. Chapter 12. After watching Cindy's figure disappear, I walked over to Jennifer. It had been many days since I last saw her. She looked even more worn out now. There were dark circles under her eyes, something she never used to have. I hope this is the last time we meet. I said it directly. A trace of hurt flashed in Jennifer's eyes. She gave a bitter smile. Do you hate me that much now? I didn't answer. I just looked at her quietly. I guess. Later I finally realized how much I hurt you back then. She let out a self-mocking laugh and continued. After that, Christopher got involved with many girls in ambiguous ways. Only then did I realize how hurtful my behavior was. I don't want to hear this anymore, I said coldly. She pursed her lips, looking a little aggrieved. Colin, back then, I also dreamed that we would hold hands and grow old together. If you're willing to give me another chance, I'll spend my whole life making it up to you. No. Before she could finish, I interrupted her. Jennifer, no matter how many times you ask, my answer will be the same. Why? Why won't you even give me one more chance? She lost control of her emotions and broke down crying. I looked at her calmly. I already gave you chances, more than once. Ever since Christopher entered our lives, how many times did I tell you? And how many times did you actually listen? But, she tried to explain, but no words came out. Actually, from the moment your heart wavered for the first time, I should have chosen to leave. I was just too soft-hearted. I sighed and continued. I'm doing very well with Cindy now. She's a wonderful girl. We're getting engaged soon. Jennifer's body trembled. She stared at me in disbelief. So please, stop interfering with our lives. Live your own life well. Okay. She cried uncontrollably, looking pitiful. But now, I didn't feel even the slightest bit of heartache. Thank you for taking care of me all these years since childhood. Those are precious and beautiful memories to me. But now, we're no longer walking the same path. I glanced at my watch. I should go. Cindy is waiting for me. She hurriedly called out to me, her voice choked with tears. Actually, I know. I can't get your forgiveness anymore. I came this time to tell you, I'm going back to my hometown. I won't come back again. I nodded gently, my tone softening a little. Your mom isn't in good health. It's good for you to go back and take care of her. Colin. I'm sorry. Jennifer looked at me with tears all over her face, her eyes still filled with reluctance and regret. I looked at her for a long moment, not knowing what to say. In the end, I only said one sentence, I'm leaving. Then I turned around and walked away, finally saying goodbye to the past. Love that comes too late has no meaning at all. When I opened the door, Cindy stood there with red-rimmed eyes. Then she rushed into my arms. I thought. I gently stroked her head and said softly, silly girl, did you think I wasn't coming back? She didn't say anything, just lightly punched my chest. I knew you were waiting for me at home, so no matter what, I will always come back. Looking at our reflection in the window, our figures embracing, I said with quiet relief, cherishing the person in front of you is the true secret to happiness.